All right, here, let me try it from my end again.
That's our intro now. Is the internet got injured too?
Yes. Yes, that is totally.
All right, we're up. We're good.
Okay. Alrighty. Welcome to For Fantasy's Sake, the Quad City's first and only fantasy football show, where even the internet is on the injury report this week because we just got screwed over. Alrighty, boys. Last week was a terrible, terrible beatdown. Where do we go from here?
I think that, as we were just talking, as we were having our internet issues, hopefully you were able to hit your waiver wire earlier in the week if you were without Saquon or, I guess, CMC. I think the tough situation with a lot of these injuries, including Saquon, is that was one of the situations in fantasy football where you didn't own the handcuff because, Saquon's getting 100% of the running back touches, so why own another guy? And now, you were hoping you get Dion Lewis, maybe Jerick McKinnon, Luckily, if you had an injured running back, so many guys got hurt that you didn't have just your Dion Lewis choice. You could have gone the Mike Davis route or, out to San Francisco, like I said, with McKinnon or even Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I think it feels like there was a lot more carnage than there was. I think in the past, if you look back to previous years, there's about the same amount of major injuries happening. But this is more fantasy relevant for us, especially. I think a lot of people are drawing wrong conclusions about things because they're making a lot of comparisons to when the lockout happened. In the lead up to that season, there wasn't as much like preseason and training and things like that. That was a lot of soft tissue injuries. This year, it feels like these were a lot of like broken bones and things like that. Stuff you just can't avoid. That's not something that you can fix with training or extra exercise or something like that. So I think that this is just a part of this league. It's the meat grinder where you're going to get chewed up and spit out. And right now, we're just remembering that that's a thing that we have to deal with.
I think one of the goofy things with all the injuries last week was you never really knew Christian McCaffrey was hurt until the game was over because he was still playing, and then all of a sudden, you get the Twitter alert that Christian McCaffrey got hurt, and that's one of the injuries that you kind of worry about with a high ankle sprain because you just don't know. You don't know, high ankle sprain, he could be back next week or he could miss, 4 to 6 weeks, or
yeah.
he could come back next week, take 3 carries, and then all of a sudden it's a worse injury.
Yeah. I think that's the real concern is why they'll be extra cautious with him. I know that some people are out there trying to grab up Mike Davis. As a Bears fan who watched Mike Davis, the first carry he had in preseason, I was like, nope, I'm done with this. Immediately. It's like he couldn't fall forward for a yard. And it's like, I know it's preseason. I know this line isn't great, but Mike Davis looks retired.
Yeah. That's one of those things, too, is who's going to be the guy. You have so many question marks in all the places, is Mike Davis going to be the guy, or are they going to turn to Reggie Bonifant? Who's going to be...
How do they not?
Yeah. And then in New York, people are rushing to get Dion Lewis, but they signed Devontae Freeman, and they still have Wayne Gallman around, who obviously knows that offense too. And then San Francisco, obviously they're hot hand anyway, but they paid Jerick McKinnon a lot of money, and I just feel like I felt like they were going to use him eventually, as the season wore on anyway. Another place where there was injuries, Malcolm Brown and Henderson both got hurt, or Henderson I think is the alive one. Akers and Malcolm Brown both got injured last week, so that's another place where you just don't know what they're going to do at running back.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of question marks this week, you want to just try and fill those holes with whoever you think can best help you. But long term, you should be looking at guys who have big upside. Like, that's why I think you're right, DJ. Bonifon would be a good way to go because there's a high ceiling there. If these are guys who are just going to be filling out the end of your bench, give them a role and just see if they end up turning into more.
Right. And I was looking this morning, the top 2 running backs that were drafted out. The 3 of the top 4 wide receivers likely not playing, because Adams and Julio likely not playing today, and then Michael Thomas already injured. Like, it's just insane.
And Kittle.
Yeah, and the number 2 tight end. Everybody just it's a morgue. Like, I have Julio and Devontae Adams on the same team, so it's and I'm sure a lot of people do, because those were 2 guys you could get back into the first, second round. So it's kind of crazy just to think almost everybody is scrambling somewhere to get somebody in the lineup.
Well, how do you think the Green Bay offense really reacts to not having Devontae Adams, since it seems like he's been the one getting all the targets this year? Is that just go to Scandling now, or who really picks up the slack there?
I mean,
we will talk about that.
Oh, okay.
In the Bears-Packers segment, Christopher.
Darn it. All right.
I had a really good take on that, Doug.
Well, write it down because I know you won't remember it in 30 minutes.
All right.
DJ can't write.
Can't read
That's
either.
true. Well, yes. Well, he can write. The problem is he can't read.
Okay.
All right. So that'll take us to an abbreviated end of the first segment. On the other side of this, we'll talk waiver wire pickups. Who you need to be out there kind of looking for? What kind of bandage plays do we need to make here in the next hour or so, hour and a half, so that we can get some kind of lineup out there. This may be a grit your teeth and kind of bear it kind of week is kind of how I feel. Going to have to try and find some people with some tasty matchups. So maybe we can talk a little bit about a couple of guys who maybe have a good play this week. Some folks that you might not normally start. We can try to take a look at that. So we'll look at that on the other side of the break. Make sure that you are always following us on Facebook at For Fantasy Sake QC, on Twitter at FFSQC, Instagram at FFSQC. You can also vote for us on Locals Love Us. We put that link up a couple of times in the last week, so make sure that you are doing that. And make sure that you are also sending in your questions. We will take those at the end of the show in the last 15 minutes. So you got plenty of time to get those in, but make sure that you are getting those in today. All right, with that, we'll take a quick break, and then we will talk about who you're going to pick up this week on the other side. Sunday is the best day at Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill in Rock Island. You can now enjoy a limited brunch menu while listening to your favorite Jamos talk about fantasy football. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than Kavanaugh's Brunch Burger, which is a sizzling all-beef patty topped with an egg and hash browns and served with a side of hand-cut fries. Stick around after the show and grab one of their 250 tall boys or a Bloody Mary while checking out all of the action from every game around the league and keeping up with your fantasy studs on one of their numerous screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. That's Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill, 1228 30th Street in Rock Island, the non-bubble home of For Fantasy Sake. Rock River Fitness, located at 3416 Black Hawk Road in Rock Island, offers a wide variety of classes starting as low as $7 per class and just $10 for specialty classes. With classes that include different yoga, Zumba, cardio, fusion, and strength training, Rock River Fitness has a little something for everyone and at a crazy affordable rate. Find them on Facebook, the MindBody app, or visit their website, rockriverfitness.com, and start planning your next fitness class. Rock River Fitness, where fitness is fun. Alrighty, guys. So, last week was a catastrophe. So what are we going to do this week to patch that crap up? What do we got out there on the waiver wire? We talked a little bit about Mike Davis, Dion Lewis, but bunch of guys that you can kind of plug in. Who might be running around on people's benches? Who's got some good plays this week that might be a sneaky good play that we can plug in and maybe try and patch some of these gaping holes?
I think if you're without one of your studs, you're kind of looking for some of the home run plays, guys that you can kind of put in and have a game where they might go, 100 yards, couple scores, and score, have one of those stud games, but you're also risking the chance of them laying flat. So like a Damiere Byrd would be an interesting person. He had 13 fantasy points last week against against Seattle, so he would be an interesting guy to maybe